How do I do this again? Um, hey guys, welcome back to Save for Myself podcast with your host, Ty June. First things first, I want to thank everyone that messaged me and commented on my post about why an episode was not put out last weekend. Mental health is very important to me, which is why I made the decision to not post an episode. My team and I needed to step back. There was just a lot going on, and I'd rather have it where we're at our fullest potential and with our right sound, body, mind, and spirit is into it. And so no episode was made. And that's okay. And I'm glad you guys are still sticking around and still tuning in and following up with us. This episode is episode number seven, and it saved me from my blackness. And now I'm not saying it like that to say like I want to not be black or save me from being black, but my blackness is so important to me that I want to be able to express myself and also be able to connect and relate to others that's probably also in my head and understand what I do for myself when it comes to my blackness. Now, I love myself and I love being black. And the reason for this episode is because of the Montgomery Brawl that happened last weekend. And it just got me to a point to think about what are we doing in 2023? It made me also want to look deeper into details and information. And I want to be able to express myself to you guys of my point of view of the whole situation, as well as my own occurrences in day-to-day life and situations that most of you may be able to relate with and some of you may not, but that's okay. We're all collective. We're all in this together. And this is just my point of view. First things first, I will talk about some heavy things about being black and how I feel about America and things of that nature. If you really don't want to hear that, that's okay. You can tune into the next episode. This episode may not be for you, and that is okay. But I just want you to know that I'm going to be true about everything and raw about everything, and that regardless if you're black, purple, orange, and green, I'm going to lay it all out for you. As far as the brawl goes, I want to show you and express to you my point of view of the whole thing, as well as the things that I know that most minorities do experience in the day-to-day life, and be able to express to you and hope be able to connect with you on the same level, and to let you know that I'm here and you're not crazy, and the things that we go through, other people may not be able to understand, but I hope that we can find a common ground to be able to express ourselves in this moment.
Good Sunday, everybody. Welcome to the Ty June podcast. She might not save me time, she might not save me money, but she might save me from myself. Let's tune on in.
So you just tuned in to SMFM. Let's talk about everything and nothing. So Bloody Saturday, as they're calling it, again, I don't even know why that's the term. I'm way more comfortable with Montgomery Brawl because there's other things in history that's happened all over the world that uses bloody and the day of the week that have gone in the history books that are probably way, way worse outcomes. But that's what they're coining it for whatever reason. Let's not use Bloody Saturday. Let's go with Montgomery Brawl. Since in the back of my head, as I say that, I literally was just on social media maybe 30 minutes ago, and someone made a song, and there's also a dance out, but that's neither here nor there. I don't like violence, but this was a good old-fashioned brawl. Now, I don't know how you grew up or how you were raised or what your parents told you, but it always came down to, if you put hands on me first, I was always given permission to throw hands back. So in this case, you started it, you put hands on me first, and I'm allowed to put my hands back on you next. So if you know, if depending on what kind of household you were in, my mom always said, if they hit you first, you can hit them back. Got it, understood, but you never started. That's a big deal, right? You never start to fight as long as you finish it. That's how I was taught. Never really had gotten into situations or fights in my life, but I have gotten to two after school program, Boys and Girls Club. I can't remember the other one, but I do remember this one vividly because I was arguing back and forth. As you know, I have a mouth on me. I talk a lot. I'm very loud. So I'm arguing with this female, I think, or was it a male? However they identify, I was arguing with a person. But for some reason, a girl that's sitting down next to me decides to grab at me and pull on me to try to tell me essentially to stop talking or arguing with this person. So again, that whole put your hands on me, I have all the right to put hands back on me. Going back and looking at it, she wasn't getting me to like fall or trip or anything. It was that she was trying to get my attention, be like, stop it, get over it, whatever. But then we got into it because first off, she could have just use her words. I don't know. That's neither here nor there. But after school program, don't you love it? Or maybe it was even summer. Probably was a summer program. Doesn't matter. But I haven't gotten into that many fights in my life. But a lot of times they were never in school. They were always like after school programs, summer programs, camps, something like that. But I'll hurt you with my words before I hurt you with my hands. And then even back then, I wasn't trained in kickboxing, Muay Thai as much as I am now. But even now that I know how to scrap, I haven't had any reasons to. And that's okay. I'm just saying. But that was a good old fashioned beatdown where it was just fists to cuffs and that is it. There was nothing more appropriate than to just go all out with you. And well, into the chair. Again, that's neither here nor there, but the chair wasn't necessary. I don't know why the chair was out. I get it. It was there. You use it as a weapon. You could have not had to use it as a weapon. But then, push comes to shove, it may required you to do that. But again, fisticuffs, classic punching, fists, everything. And it also turns out that the man in the white was actually a captain. And if you don't know, if you haven't watched the videos or anything like that, he was keeping things in order as he should as his job. So this family couple had their little dolly doohickey in the way. There's areas designated for those paddle wagon cruise ship experiences, and they were in the way and they were blocking. They weren't supposed to be there. They took too long. So he took it to liberty to allegedly move it himself, and they got upset. They started arguing, of course, and they started beating him up. And shortly after that, the gentleman jumps off of the boat and swims to the dock to protect the captain. He is also one of the crew members, one of the employees at the company, and his intentions were to protect him at all costs. So he was going to wait for the boat to pull up or dock. He decided to go into the water, swim, and get into the situation at hand. Now, with all the videos that I've caught and all the things that I've looked into, there's a few moments between him swimming and the boat docking that I don't know what could have occurred between then. But at that point, the boat has docked, everyone has debarked from the boat, and everyone is heading into the direction of the white couple on their little doohickey. So that's when it all starts. You do see police in the shot. You do see them kinda breaking the fights up. Turns out the cops were black as well. And it seems to be like everyone was on each other's side. They were doing their job. Everyone was kind of just watching and waiting and seeing what happened. And of course, eventually going back to the gentleman with the chair got taken down to the ground, or in this case, the dock, and got handcuffed, etc. But it just that moment that a lot of us know, like if you joke about it, but it's the thought of like, okay, the guys that roll up, they do a little skippity skip, they hold up on their waistbands, and something's about to go down. I don't know who invented this or who made this like the sauce, but it's like, I don't know if I was from being 3 years old or 30 years old, but everyone knows when you see that happening with black person, white person, anybody, something's about to happen. And whoever coined the skippity doo, hold up my pants, what's up, it's forever immortalized, and we all know. So the brawl takes place. Women are fighting the women, men are fighting both men and women. And it's just so weird, because even if you go back to the fact that it came out later that there were words being exchanged, racial slurs, things of that nature, then yeah, we kind of know how they were and kind of knew where it was going. But it wasn't called for. It just wasn't called for at all. And as far as the gentleman jumping into the pool, he cared for his team, and like as us, as our people, we're into protecting what's ours, our people, our family, our property, everything. That's what we do. And just as much as it is violent, as much as it is hard to watch, and people complain about blah, 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 this is what y'all get, whatever, whatever. But it's the thought that the only thing that was on those people's mind at the time was protecting what was theirs. Because a lot of times we have to go through the issues of knowing that our stuff is never protected because we got to do it ourselves, or people just assume they can just do this and get away with it and get no repercussions or consequences from it. And so protection of your family, your property, and your people is very important. This is what took place, and this is how they decided to handle it. Love it or hate it, that's what went down. And it always baffles me when people think they can just be racist and then think they can just get away with it. It's very common, and it's very infamous for where people can be racist and say slurs and then not get in trouble. But unfortunately, they effed around and found out really quickly that you can't just attack someone in front of a boat's load of people and think you're just going to just walk away like nothing happened. And then in my instinct, I feel like if I just got into a fight and everything like that, and there's all these people watching, and it's daylight, and that I still stayed in the area, I don't understand. It's like the fight or flight, because I feel like maybe depending on where they are or who they are, if they're racist or not, something has been instilled in them to where they can just do this and think nothing's going to happen, and that they didn't have to leave and they didn't have to flee. They didn't run away, because no one has ever put them in their place to be like, this isn't okay. I bet you now they're going to think twice before they use any slurs or upset any other person outside of their own group of people, because it's like, look what you did. Why you thought this was okay? I don't know. And even with all the internal hurt and the internal physical, mental, and spiritual bruising, I still had to laugh though, going through social media and seeing like everyone throwing up hats. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a dance and a song out. People out here making remixes of the audio from the clips. But it's the thought of like, was there something that we don't know amongst them, that if you see a hat go in the air, like everyone comes to save you? Like, was that something I didn't know? Was I supposed to know the hat is the signal, or what? Because that was just too, I don't know. There must have been like a hidden language going on in that city or that group of people, where hat goes up, you know exactly what it means. Like it must have been a sign the crew knew about. There's no way, right? It had to be. And what's so interesting, I ended up learning that this place, ironically, is also where it was a place to exchange slaves back in the day, and as well as house slaves, because it was one of the busiest slave junctions at that time. And they used to have warehouses and depots where they would hold them there until people would come and auction them off and all that stuff. So it's really ironic how all this went down on an area of an auction block or slave depot. And it's like how the turns have tabled. It's just very interesting how the universe likes to reflect itself back onto itself. And so a lot of things makes me think when I was talking with my coworkers and talking to my friends that were white and or black and or of another race, it was just made me think about like the internal struggles that I have that I know most of us may have, like those internal struggles that I know I have that most of you may have, about like feeling like you don't belong, especially like in a group where there's like you're the only black person or the only few black people around a whole bunch of white people, and somehow the hair on your neck still stands up and your ears are still perched and you're just still paying attention to all your surroundings, and you're just trying to make sure you're doing everything right or wrong. And that just made me think, like, did these people do, like, I asked my one of my white coworkers, like, do you guys not get a feeling on you guys when you're like feel like you just did something wrong? And then I don't know, just the thought of like, if this was in reverse, it was a black family at a all white situation. And first off, we probably would never got that far. Hey, you told me to move, I'm moving. Secondly, if I was hard-headed and I was drinking or intoxicated and I wasn't comprehending, and then I did decide to fight a white security guard, and then those people would have came after us. But the whole thought in my brain is like, don't do anything stupid because there's a whole bunch of white people watching you and you're already guilty. And it just made me think, like, does anyone else feel that? When you walk into a room or when you walk into an event, do you not feel like you have to be on your best behavior? Not even because you're a bad person, you're trying to get caught or not get caught, but you're just so cautious of the fact that you're in a dominant white area and you're just trying to make sure that you get out of here without any like confrontations. Is it just me? Because that's just how I feel in a lot of places, not many, but few. I guess when it comes down to being at these events or being in the room, it's like, am I being judged? Like, don't do anything to upset anyone. Or like you go to an event and you're like I went to an event and I feel like there was hundreds of people and I was like the only black person there. And you just, am I being judged? If people looking at me like, why am I here? Do I belong? I don't do anything to upset them, even by accident. Don't talk loud because they take talking loud as aggression. But I'm loud, right? Like depending on where I am, it's like, I want to make sure I talk in my white voice and make sure I don't use slang because I don't want to upset anyone, because all I'm trying to do is do my job, work, eat, sleep, work on myself, and make sure everything's okay. And once I'm in these areas, I want to make sure that I use this voice to make sure they know that I'm not trying to be aggressive or dominating or overbearing. And subconsciously speaking, I hate that voice. But even just talking the way I am now, I will never ever understand why I get this token of, why you talking white? Excuse me? I'm talking with English that you understand. So what does that mean? To this day, I still will never know. The stereotype is that black people don't use their English or use their words all the way. But I lived in the South long enough and I worked in customer service long enough to know there's people that are not black that don't use all their words either. So what does that mean? Are they talking black? I don't know. If you have an answer to that, black, white, purple, orange, green, whoever you are, can you please leave a comment? Because I want to know the difference between talking white and talking black. But no one uses the term talking black. They only use the term talking white. So yeah, subconsciously speaking, I will be in an event where there's majority white people, and I will be in an event where it's majority black people. And yes, I am a token black girl, as they say, and I'm also a chameleon. And so depending on who I'm with and who I'm around, I may say certain words and I may say certain things because A, they may not understand. B, they want you to not be you, unfortunately. And C, I want to make sure I don't draw attention to myself. Especially when it comes to talking aggressive. It's like that case that came up where the lady was in the break room talking on the phone, and some Karen comes out of nowhere, comes in the break room and says, "What are you doing here? Why are you here? Blah, 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 blah." She calls the police on her, saying that there's this lady that doesn't belong here and she's talking very loud in the break room, and I need someone to come to 900A Plaza, whatever the heck it was, just because she was on the phone and not even loud. She was on the phone, not even loud per the clip. She wasn't loud, but either way, this should not be okay. Why did you think this was okay to call the police? The police have other things to do. Hey, can you come arrest this lady? What is she doing? She's talking on the phone very loudly and she doesn't belong here. Okay, we'll be right there. Really? Is it that easy? Just use the word black person in the conversation to the police, and that's all you need. And they show up, and then I don't know what happens. I'm going to look into that later. I tried to find any information about that clip or afterwards, but I haven't came across anything. So I don't know if it's too new or information that's came out yet, but that's unnecessary. Yeah, and so like these internal thoughts and these precautions that we take, like I don't understand if do other people not do that? Am I over exaggerating? Am I overthinking? That you don't think about your surroundings and internalize who, what, when, where, why, and how. And I don't know that family at the dock even thought about their consequences, or maybe they don't get them, so they don't know what to think of them. So maybe now they will. Like I mentioned earlier, if you do bad things and you haven't got consequences from those bad things, you wouldn't know that those things are bad. But I hope they do now know what they did was bad. And I hope they know what they did was wrong. And that to never, ever do it again. Because that's just pitiful. Like, since we're already guilty for what we look like, we don't want to add any more elements or issues into the discrimination pile that we already have. And like back to the idea of trying to blend in and not drawing attention to yourself. So I went to a baseball game. That feeling of people looking at you, they're probably not looking at you, but you unfortunately been subconsciously inherited to think people are looking at you, but you probably are fine, and you are. Eventually I got over that feeling and enjoyed the show. And I bet you there's probably some people now that probably understand that feeling. It's like it's not a danger thing. Like you're surrounded because you feel it's so common that you don't feel like you belong. And so those moments of like, okay, you're looking around, make sure you don't say anything, make sure you don't do anything stupid. You subconsciously think, why are you here? You don't belong, because just society has applied that to us, unfortunately, to where like, we don't belong. We're not supposed to be here. But matter of fact, I didn't even ask to be here. So what are you going on about? It's like the fact of is I pushed a button and was like, hi, I'm here. I belong here now. Suck it up, buttercup. And here's that token line. It's like, oh, you know how when white person says like, oh yeah, I have black friends. Well, yeah, I have white friends too. That's cool. Congratulations. But with the white friends that I do have, I know there's things that I go through that I know that they'll never understand, but they are allies. People like Kimmy, people like CJ, people like Emily, Tyler, Alita, Jeffrey, another Jeffrey. They're very understanding, but it's always so hard to get them to understand, and that's okay. They're allies, and that's all that matters. A good example of this is that my old roommate is a big fan of reusable grocery store bags. And so, yeah, I would be too. It's so much easier. Don't have to worry about keeping track of all the ones you bring home. And we try to find multiple uses to reuse those unreusable bags, the plastic ones and the paper ones, and it's a hassle. So reusable bags are a really good idea. The reason I never actually carried a reusable bag is because I didn't want anyone to think I was stealing or taking things, because it kind of looks like a giant purse. Some of them have designs on them, some have color on it. So it just looks like a giant tote bag or a purse. And so when we're going to stores like Target or Walmart, it would be kind of awkward. But I do personally shop at like Aldi and Lidl and stuff where there are more necessities because they don't have grocery bags. And so I don't feel as awkward as carrying them in there. But Target and Walmart and places like that makes it more awkward. So when we go to the store together, I will get her to carry the bags, the reusable bags with the stuff in it. We're not really going there for anything, just a few things half the time, like 2 bags at the most. And I will get her to put my stuff in her bags. And so when we go to checkout, then I'll just have the things that I need to scan or whatever. And it's just a whole thought of like, I don't want to give anyone a reason or excuse to think I'm stealing or anything. So I refuse to even carry a purse. I do not carry a purse in the store. I don't buy a purse. If I am holding a purse, the purse is probably no bigger than my hand. And that's about it. And I only have my phone and my keys and my little coin purse that's about this big, that holds big enough to hold cards in it. So I never carry a purse. And so it's just the thought of like, take everything you can to make sure they can't say anything or anything or hold against you. So you just do that. And I don't know how to explain that to other people that don't experience being followed in the store or what have you. But I know some of you out there probably understand it and relate to that, because it's just, you're trying to be on your best behavior. Don't give anyone a reason to call you out, essentially. Even for example, getting followed in the store. Her and I were in Walmart, a super Walmart, a bigger one, of course, double the size, triple the size in the average like neighborhood or regular Walmart. So we went from getting produce to going all the way to the makeup section. And there was this chick that was following us. And I didn't say anything. Eventually I was like, maybe she's just, I don't know. And just eventually out loud, I was just looking at Kimmy. I'm like, why is this chick following us? And I don't know if she stopped following us. I just stopped paying attention because I wasn't doing anything. And Kimmy recognized it too and I was like, I hate that you have to deal with this, but this is common. And I just wanted to hopefully not get you involved with this, but just know this isn't going to be over. Because we don't go shopping together that often in big stores like that, because I don't really like going in Walmart anymore. So it's rare for us to go in Walmart together. So I was just letting her know, this happens. I apologize. This may happen again if we're ever out together, but that's just the name of the game. You get used to it or you don't. But it was frustrating to me because I'm used to it happening when I'm by myself, but I wasn't used to having it happen when I had someone with me. And I didn't want her to feel uncomfortable and scared and fearful. And that's why I said something this time around, because I'm like, I have all days you want to follow me, with one of my good friends, and they're white, and I don't want them to think like going in the store with me again in the future, it's going to always be like this. And they just kind of, she didn't have any issues with it. She understood. She shrugged it off, and she was just very understanding and very comforting of the situation. But it was like, how do you explain that to someone that doesn't get that to them on a common basis? Like, besides being in store or being in public or being just out in general, is that the thought in the back of my head every time I get into a car, the whole driving while black conundrum. Trying my hardest. I recommend black, white, purple, orange, and green. Again, it doesn't matter. You should always check your lights and tail lights and everything. But I do it 10 times more often than most people will. I do check my headlights. I check my tail lights, my signal lights, everything. And just so that I don't have that situation where I will be stopped and someone can lie and say, hey, your tail light is out. I'm like, no, sir, I checked them this morning. No, sir, I checked them before I left. No, sir, I changed the light bulb. Here's a receipt. Do you want to see it? I do this. And so it's just little things like that. I don't know if anyone has that in the back of their mind about when they get into the car and you're driving while black, you make sure you don't speed, you make sure you don't draw attention to yourself, and you just make sure you get to point A to point B safely. And I just want to make sure everyone comes home. So just incorporate that into your day-to-day if you haven't already. Have a friend at work. Hey, can you check my tail lights for me? Or whatever. But I generally do it in the parking lot or something. Cut the car on, do the signals, and then a lot of times if I can, behind me is like the dumpster or whatever. So when I do my brake lights, I can see the reflection come off of the poles and everything, and so I can see that. But just ask a friend, like, hey, can you check my tail lights for me? Can you check my headlight for me? Can you check my high beams? Just to make sure they're all working. And that's just something I incorporated in my life, especially with my grandfather, the one that taught me how to drive and maintain and upkeep my car. It's just something that he instilled in me, and not really realizing why, more so than just because you need to maintain your car, but you also need to maintain the upkeep of the car to prevent any reason for a police officer to say something to you. Unfortunately, we have to think about that. Yeah, it's crazy, I just happen to be, I'm a woman that just happens to be black, so it's nothing out of the ordinary. But being a woman is hard. Being a woman can be hard, but then like being a black woman can be even harder. And stuff like that just makes me think about my mom. My mom is a single parent, black woman, strong, intelligent, very capable of any occupation, anything she puts her mind to. And it's the thought that like a lot of the obstacles she had in her life, even being an accountant back in the day when accounting was a very male dominated area and industry, her moving mountains to do that. And then on top of being a black and then a woman, then it's just a lot more things you have to push out of your way. My mom is very smart. She deserves everything. She deserves being paid beyond what you think she deserves. I feel like my mother's value is 100K minimum. Say nothing less than that. But that's what my mother deserves. She's been doing the same occupation as long as I've lived. She's been doing it and she's great at it. And she doesn't deserve less than that. But of course, society and industry and everything like that has held her back from getting to that milestone because A, a man, and or B, women getting paid less, and or C, black women, black minorities, black anybody outside of a white person getting paid less. Even though my mother's gone to school, has been doing this way longer than that person has been. But yet she can't get that job just because she is black and she didn't decide to be black. She decided to get an education. She just decided to get a bachelor's degree, and that's what she did. So if you're not paying her 100K, don't talk to her. Don't look at her. Don't offer anything because that's what she deserves. And it's upsetting because how we lose out on our counterparts because of that. I mean, a lot of times me and my mom are very lucky that our names on paper don't look like, I guess, your stereotypical black name, but we work hard and we have to work harder. And as you know, with the education system, and you hear these stories about these collegiate issues with people paying off deans and things to get their kid into school, and black people and the affirmative action and all that. I can get into that. That's a whole nother episode. But the fact of is, I'm smarter than you. I'm work harder than you. And yet I still can't surpass you. That's a problem. You would want the best person for the job. You don't want to just pick someone because of what they look like. I'm so sorry. I went off on a tangent. Let's get back on this track appropriately. But that's just, my mother can take over the world, but the people in place will not allow her to, and that frustrates me. Even for myself, even for anyone else that's going through that, you're not hireable because A, you're a woman, and or B, you're a minority. that shouldn't be the case. I'm perfect for the job. That's it. That's all that matters. And as far as discrimination in education and the workforce, there's one element of blackness that I feel like a lot of people don't talk about, or they talk about it and it doesn't get mainstreamed or pushed around a lot. But let's not forget our own internal issues with colorism. There is so many examples of colorism being a negative impact within our own group and our own culture that it even shouldn't be there. We didn't put it there, it was placed there. So we got to also remember that that is very important too. Like, why do we judge ourselves based on how light or how dark of a black you are? Like, why does it matter if you're light skin or dark skin? Like, there's a lot of issues with that in marketing, casting, modeling, magazines, photography, all of that. There are issues even there. That shouldn't be the case. But, you generally won't see darker skinned people on a cover of a magazine, on a billboard, in advertising and marketing, because they don't deem dark skin to be beautiful. They choose people light skinned because it's closer to white as it can be, aka a Kardashian, right? And that shouldn't be the case either. Like, it's so. Side note again, speaking of the Kardashian, you don't want black people to do their black stuff, but it's okay for y'all to take the stuff that black people do, but black people can't do what you do. But it's the same thing. I might cut that out, but neither here nor there. Like, for being on the lighter skin of the spectrum, I've even talked about this in my school days episode, where I was being bullied because I was light skinned. It was me, like, again, like I said, I think there was like 5 light skinned people in my whole class. And so I was picked on a lot because I think I was light skinned, and I'm light skinned and I'm beautiful. So I was being bullied for that because I guess people were jealous of the fact that I was light skinned, and that, again, being jealous of someone that's light skinned is because you're closer to white without being so. And so that's also a weird conundrum and dynamic that people have to experience as well. Now, even then, now it's like the new light-skinned people are out of style or out of season, or light-skinned people are not trustworthy because for some reason light-skinned people get cast as the villains and things. And all those Drake jokes about light-skinned dudes, like, I don't know where that comes from. It's whatever. But it evolves into something else every generation as time goes by. There is some form of negativity that we incorporate in our culture against colorism, and how we actually manifest it and create it and make it grow and feeding into it. And it just makes it worse and worse and worse. Like, the whole thing, like, light skin is more desirable than dark skin. But I digress. If even like my really good friend, every time she sees like a dark skinned person, she gets so excited because it's like the skin is flawless. The chocolate is so smooth, it's so clean, it's so polished. And then we get the lotion on, man, what are you talking about? Dark isn't beautiful. What do you mean? Have you seen these models that do get out there and are just chocolate, luscious, melanin, all of it to the 9th is beautiful? And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Be happy and love the skin you're in. Oh my God. Wait, is that Maybelline? No, like, someone's catchphrase is that. I am so sorry. Whoever, love the skin you're in. I don't know who's. We're gonna figure that out. Da, 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 da. And this also goes back to stigma that light-skinned people get away with more things, and the darker you are, the more violent you are, the more angry you are. And so that doesn't help either. At the end of the day, spinning back around to the Montgomery Brawl, at the end of the day, we just got us. We are all in this together. We need to stick together no matter what. We should stick together no matter what. Again, no matter if you're purple, black, purple, orange, green, whatever, we're in this together. We need to stick together. It's very interesting what happens to people that are tired and tired of being tired. And unfortunately, you get stuff like this. And then the media likes to spin it off like we're angry barbarians that don't have any skin in the game and can't hustle and bustle and make it and all this stuff. But that's not really the case, is it? You started this going back hundreds and hundreds of years. Oh well, we're here and we're thriving and we're striving, and you don't like that too much. A lot of people don't like that. The politicians, the different parties, again, put that to the wayside. That's a whole different episode. When you get tired of being so sick and tired of having people treat you like a second-class human being, and you expect us just to sit around and do nothing about it, and you expect us to sit around and say nothing, sit here, behave, and keep our mouths closed. A lot of times we have to, and a lot of times we won't. And the Brawl is a good example of the times where we won't just sit down and be quiet and not do anything. And just elements of our society and life over the years, just like being uncomfortable just to go to the doctor, because throughout history we know what happens, what has happened to our brothers and sisters getting tested on, injected, everything that shouldn't have been done, but it was done. And one of those other internal subconscious elements is not being comfortable going to a doctor. I still to this day am not comfortable going to the doctor. I need to be a little bit more. Even when they always say, like, Black people don't believe in therapy, we should be more about pro on that. But we know why. We know why we weren't pushed into that, because of the history. It's kind of hard to believe that they're not still doing these things, but it's also understanding that I need to be more trusting, but it's hard. Being comfortable and trying to get through it is important, and I'm working on that. And I hope you are working on that as well, whoever needs to hear this. Things will get better and things will change. Like, from always been told I sound white to being overlooked for jobs, we have our own magic. I work for my people that are close to me. Every time they leave the house, especially the Black men in my family, I know they worry about me too, knowing that Black women get kidnapped and murdered or taken, and no one talks about it as much. And so we worry about each other together. I hope one day it shouldn't have to be like this anymore. I have a 3-year-old nephew that I hope it will be a lot easier and less difficult than it is now for him. And I hope the next upcoming educational years from him is going to be great. But I still worry. And I'm sure my brother worries, and my sister-in-law worries. I'm sure they worry. And it's important to just learn from your mistakes and keep trucking, and knowing that stronger together, we're stronger together. And so, yeah, this is episode 7, Save Me From Myself podcast. Save me from my blackness. I love my blackness. I hope you love yours as well. And let's keep these going. And again, I appreciate all the love and the support. Again, if you got any comments or concerns, drop them in the comments below. You got any topics you want to talk about, any particular videos, people, persons, places, things, let me know in the comments. And shout out to Kimmy, and thank you for the comments. Thank you for the love. I think we're over 20 subscribers strong now. And I think there's over 500 views across the channel as a whole. So I appreciate you guys so much. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, those things, right? Ty June on all platforms. SMFM podcast on all platforms. And I'll see you guys next time. So this is Ty June. Thanks for tuning in. You made it to the end. I see you next weekend.